This is How to Teach Social Studies, the importance of letting students win. What this presentation isn't, it's definitely not a plea for less discipline or to let kids break the rules or to let kids disrespect your authority. And obviously, teachers need control. Obviously, teachers usually can't be effective at their jobs without order and calm. And it would not be reasonable or appropriate to allow students to question rules of discipline. Teachers don't have that kind of time, and this presentation isn't for that. So I just want to make clear that this isn't letting students win. If a student says, I want to go to the bathroom, and, it's critically important, or there's a lockdown, and you say no, that's totally appropriate, and this presentation has nothing to do with, overriding discipline issues. However, what teachers don't need, and I think, many teachers make this mistake, is teachers, especially in social studies, do not need to be seen as godlike, infallible beings in order to maintain control or do their jobs. I've just seen times where teachers are clearly incorrect and they just don't want to admit that out of fear of losing control, and I think that's where this presentation can help. So, if you can never win, imagine you're in a situation where no matter what you say, the person in charge isn't really listening and will never change their mind. Just think about that. How would you act? They're in control, and no matter what happens, they will not listen to you and they will never change their mind. How would you act? Well, if you can never win an argument, I've seen it, you are incentivized not to care or put any real thought or effort into your speech. The only reason that you would speak would be to get a laugh or to troll people or to be immature. Students are already often motivated to do this in conversations because of their immaturity. If you close off yet another avenue to having a mature conversation, the problem gets even worse. So, when to let a student win an argument? Number one, the answer is subjective and they have a logical point of view. Modern social studies stresses critical thinking and opinion development. Most questions for social studies can be answered in a number of ways. Even if you hate the student's opinion, so long as it's not objectively wrong, explain how you see the student's side and never saw it that way before. And then the people who are going to disagree with them are the other students, not you. That gets the students debating and arguing and using critical thinking skills rather than seeing you as somebody that always puts their ideas down. Number two, you've clearly made a mistake. Let's be honest, teachers make numerous, probably thousands of judgments a day, and it's almost impossible not to make a mistake from time to time. Even if you're a really great teacher, you're going to make a mistake from time to time. When you make a mistake, it's really important to let the student calmly and rationally tell you why you were wrong. Admit it and explain why you made the mistake. What motivated you to make that mistake? Why was it a mistake? You didn't do it on purpose. What led you to make that mistake? And this lets the student again know that they have a mature avenue to resolve their differences with you rather than acting out. It teaches them a model that when I am upset, I may be listened to if I have a really good reason to calmly and rationally explain myself. And finally, number three, when students want to take control of their own learning. There are numerous ways to approach any given social studies lesson. Your style may not match up with any particular student's way of learning that day or their preferences that day. Sometimes students say that the lesson style just isn't working for them. If the student asks for an alternative means to demonstrate their learning, take that request seriously, especially if it's an actual real request. Like, again, I'm not saying if you ask them to write an essay and they say they want to watch a movie instead. That's not what I mean. But analyze why the alternative might or might not work. Is it rigorous? Does it satisfy the same objectives? And consider letting them do the objective in their own rigorous way. Think out loud to them. Why would that work? Why wouldn't it work? And why are you making that decision? And ultimately, if they come up with an alternative way of demonstrating the objective that would be rigorous and does satisfy the objectives, seriously consider letting them do that. So in conclusion, building relationships with students is usually a key component in having a successful classroom. If the students aren't allowed any input into the classroom, they won't feel a sense of ownership and will probably care less than they already might. By allowing students to know when they're really correct, they're likely to listen, and they will also start listening to you more often. Right? When they know that if they're correct, you will listen, they're likely to also start listening to you. Respect goes both ways.